Morning, everybody. Thanks for being here this weekend. My name's Ryan. I'm one of the pastors on staff, and I'd love to meet you. If maybe this is your first time here, maybe stop afterwards and say hi out in the lobby there. And want to tell you, we're jumping into kind of a whole big conversation right now that we're just opened up last weekend. It's called For the One. And every few years here at Grace, what we do is we look at kind of the next what we call chapter of vision. So it's like this is where we think God is leading us over the next few years and what we think it's going to kind of take to get there and the why behind it. And so we started that last weekend. And so if you're just jumping in with us, you can catch up online if you want to catch last weekend's message. And then just want to give you a little bit of a heads up, especially if you're just kind of visiting over these few weeks. This section, kind of this series and this focus is a little bit different than how we would normally approach our time here on the weekend because it's that very much that we're looking at kind of the guts of what it's going to take to move forward, and we're kind of having a family conversation about it, right? So just know that. In some ways, that's really, really good if you're brand new because you're really going to see, hey, this is what drives this church, this is what we're all about, and this is really where we're going. So you're going to get kind of a front row seat to really check that out and understand where that's all headed, and just know that it's going to feel a little bit different after this series is wrapped up. So last weekend what we did is we said, hey, grab one of these on your way out. This thing is loaded with info. And so if you missed one of these and didn't get to grab it, stop real quick, grab one, and you can glance through it and make sure you're kind of up to speed. We're going to talk through a good chunk of what's in this book. And then also want to let you know that we've got these little magnets for you that can help you remember to pray. Right? A big portion of what's in this series, this 4-week weekend series is we are jumping into a goal of praying for 1,000 hours as a church. And so we started that last weekend. A bunch of you have let us know that you're doing that, which is awesome. If you're just jumping in, you're like, how do I be a part of it? We're going to walk you through some of that as well today. And I want to continue to build on that momentum and even increase it. Last weekend, if you missed it, we talked about what we're going to do here with our new campus that we're going to be launching in kind of the southern part of Hartville. We're calling it Stark North. And so you can, again, catch that online and hear about multiplication and kind of what it's going to take for our campus to move into that together. In this big effort that we're talking about, the big goal that we're praying for as a campus and as a church is that 350 families or individuals would be in on this together. Right, in some form or fashion, that you would jump in and say, hey, I can serve or give, or I'll go to the new campus, or I'll help fill in for the people who are going to the new work. And so if you're an individual and you're like, I'm here by myself, you count as one of those 350. If you're here and you have a family of 4 or 5, you would count as one as you kind of jump into that commitment as well. But we're looking at, God, would you raise up 350 families that would jump into this vision with us and help us to move forward. What we said last week, and I'll kind of redraw some of this picture for you, is what we said, what drives us as a campus in so many ways is when we think about being a church in our community, we exist to go out and reach the one, right? And we say we are for the one, that Jesus would leave the 99 and he would go after the one who has gotten separated kind of from the rest. And so we want to be a people like Jesus who would go reach the one. And as we're going to look at even today, a lot of you here, even in this room, are people that were found here. Because this church is here, you found your way back to God, and you kind of would look and say, man, I'm the one. Or maybe it didn't happen here, but it happened another place in your life, and you would look back and say, yeah, I was the one. And now what we want to do is look and say, God reached me, and now what I want to do is be used by God to go reach the next one, right? How can God use my life and my story and my efforts, my time, energy, even my financial resources to be used by God to reach the one here? And so that's what drives us, and that's what's driving this conversation. And today what I want to do is really take a good hard look at what does that mean? How do we do that when it comes to reaching our community, right? To reach the community that we're in here, and what does that all mean? And I want to look at a verse in a passage of Scripture where we really get to see Jesus and his heart on display. One of the things I'm so thankful for is that Jesus put skin on and came and lived here, right? Like it's hard to just kind of imagine what's God like? How would he respond or react to a situation? But when we stop and we can look at Jesus, we can see, that's what God is like, because you can see God's heart on display and how Jesus responds, how he reacts, how he sees things. And here's what Matthew's going to say in Matthew chapter 9. And if you want to look along in the screen here, you can do that. If you want a Bible or you want to use a Bible in service, there's some underneath the chairs there. You can grab that, use it today. And if you don't have a Bible, you can take that one with you. We'd love to just give that to you as a gift today. But here's what Matthew would say as he's kind of reporting on this story. He said, Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and healing every disease and sickness. It says, when he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. Loaded passage. So here's what Jesus is doing. Jesus is traveling around. He's not staying put. He's traveling around to these different areas. And he's healing people. He's teaching people. He's going into the synagogue, which would have been like the Jewish kind of equivalent of a church of that day, and he would have taught. And then along the way, he would bump into crowds of people, right? Crowds of people. He would interact with kind of the community, we would think of it. And what's really fascinating is as Jesus would interact with the community, with these crowds of people, it's fascinating to watch how he responds and what his instinct is to respond to that crowd, because these crowds would have had all kinds of problems, right? Just like you and I have all kinds of problems. The passage would say that they were harassed and helpless. And Jesus would have looked at a group of people, and some of them would have made decisions that would have been very offensive to God. Certainly. Some of them would have had disease and sickness. Some of them would have been very poor. Some of them would have been dirty. So some of them would be very, very different than Jesus or the people that followed Jesus. They would have had they would have made different decisions about how they lived and how they approached things. And if anybody ever had the right to look at a crowd and condemn that crowd, it was Jesus. If anybody ever had like the moral authority, because Jesus is perfect and never sinned, to look at a group of people and look down on them, it would have been Jesus. Jesus had all the right in the world to do that, and I'm not even sure it would have been wrong. It would have been accurate. He is morally above us and morally above them. What's fascinating to me is that God doesn't strike them with lightning. He doesn't look down on them. He doesn't condemn them. He looks at this group of people, and what Matthew tells us is he looks at them and he has compassion on them. He has compassion on them. His heart breaks for them. And when he looks out and he sees them, what he sees is that this group of people, they have been harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. That they have been lied to, and they have been used, and they have been failed, and they have been abandoned, and they have been discarded, and they have been ridiculed, and they're beat up, they're harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. When Jesus looks into the community, if Jesus were to show up in our community today and look at the crowd, so to say, look around at our community at large, what he would see is, I believe that he would see something very similar. He would see that there are lies that have shown up in our culture that have been believed, and those lies have created enormous amounts of pain. People have been told, we have been told, that if you go down that road, life is down there. And we went down that road and we didn't find life, we found pain. And we've been told that our identity is that, and it's not that, it's something different. And we were told if you get this, then you're going to really find, and we've been used and abused and hurt and abandoned. And Jesus, if he saw a group of people today, he would see them with compassion, not judgment. And this is going to be true even for people who look and say, well, they look different than me, and they make decisions different than me, and they don't make sense to me, and they maybe think things politically different than me. He wouldn't look and say, you know, what we should do is take some of those people and get them on an island, get rid of them, blow them up, nuke it. He would look and say, my heart is shattered because that person has been lied to. And this idea of harass is almost it's almost the idea of tormented. These people have been hurt. And I would leave, right, connect the dots. I would leave the 99 to go get hope and help to that one. That's the idea. This heartbeat and this mindset and this view of people that sees souls, not just behavior, not just mindset, not just the exterior. He sees beyond that, and he sees the heart, and his heart is going to be shattered. He sees the reality of the broken family, and the reality of the person who's trapped in addiction, and the reality of the person that's wandering around on the street that has lost any ability to think that there's purpose for my life. The person who is zombified in entertainment and just tries to live from one little cheap pleasure to the next. No sense of how God could use my life. He would look and say, harassed and helpless. And we would look as a community and say, guys, that's me. I was harassed and helpless, and Jesus came and he's helping me. And now I want to go to the next person and extend the hope and the love of Christ to them right here in our community. And that's what we want to be about here, right? We want to continue to reach our community with the hope and the love of Christ. We've only been here in this building, this location, right, for 2 years, and already we have seen an enormous response, right, from many of you and beyond that said, hey, God, man, we're so grateful this church is here. We're finding hope. We hear things all the time like, I'm living from one weekend to the next. I need things like this. I need this church. I need to show up in a place where I'm going to be received and loved and welcomed and celebrated and reminded that there's a God who sees me and knows me and loves me and that my life actually matters. Right? We want to continue to reach out to our community here with the hope of Christ. And just like we would have talked last week about Stark North, when we looked at a new community to reach where there's 64,000 people to reach in that community, we want to go towards it. We would look and say, and there's still work to be done here in our Akron East community. Did you know that right here at Akron East, there are 138,000 people that don't have any connection to a gospel-centered church? 138,000 people that don't know that the Son of God came for them, lived for them, died for them, and is offering them hope in life. 138,000 people. All around us. And I would look and say, man, it's incredible that this room is full, and there's many of us have found that truth. Man, I'd celebrate about that. I would weep about that. And I would look and say, and the work is not done. The work is not done, right? Because there are people out here who, if we could just get to them, if we could just find our way to them, if we could make an open road to them, then maybe that they would be open. In fact, that's what Jesus would say is the harvest isn't the problem. The harvest is plentiful. The workers are few. There's all kinds of harvest out here. I'm not sure we're going to be able to fit everybody, right, in this room. What an amazing problem to have. But because so many people are open to the hope and the message of God, the gospel, and I would say especially today. I've been in full-time ministry for 20 years. I'm not sure I've seen a moment like the moment that we're in right now, where there is an openness and there's an eagerness. I would say there's a hunger for truth, and there's a hunger for the reality of the gospel in a way that I've never seen before. And some of you, right, you're here today, you've been here for 2 or 3 weeks, and you're like, that's why I'm here. I wanted somebody to like tell me the truth. And I thought I might go to church. I thought I might open a Bible and start to look into it. And some of you did that a year ago, and some of you did, and God is changing your life. We want to continue to reach this 138,000 people that are right here in our backyard in a 5-mile radius. And we want to continue to reach the one. People like David and Elizabeth, and you're going to hear here in a second their story. We want to tell you a little about how their lives have changed and how God is moving in their hearts and minds. Why don't we pay attention here to their story as we watch it here on the video.
So actually it started with summer camp 2 summers ago, not this past summer, the summer before. And the kids came to summer camp and they loved it. And that's kind of like, okay, well, we can try the church out since they feel comfortable. Because that was always the biggest thing, like making our kids feel comfortable in where we went. And Jimmy and Robin over the last year have been part of our story and bringing us back to church and to know God and learn and grow. She invited us. She's like, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I want you guys to know God, and just something she felt heavily about. And then we just started coming to church. And I known Jesus a long time, and from 10 to 14, I was a very active follower and involved with the church. And we met. And not that he pulled me away, but just times different.
I never came up in a church. I was never going to church on Sundays and all that. And then the Purdue family and Elizabeth, she kind of, they pushed me into this men's retreat. I had no clue what was going to go on, and it was eye-opening, and found a way to learn who my Lord and Savior was.
I'd say that kick-started him the most, more than coming to church and Bible study. I think that men's retreat really gave him that boost in the right direction.
I think Jimmy was a big factor into it. Him being a personal friend before being, I guess you say, introduced to Jesus. It was more comforting, for sure. It's changed a lot. We've had rocky times in our relationship, in our marriage, and coming to the Lord, it definitely brought us closer, brought our family closer.
It has helped me on my struggle with a lot of mental health issues, and it's helped me in that. So I think it's helped me to be a better mom, a better wife, just all over a better person. Even my therapist said she's noticed a difference in me since coming to church and finding God. So I just think all around it's given more of a positive change for me in my life.
The best way I could say it is he's your father, your brother, your best friend. He's a safety net, and you could always lean on him. And I try to keep all the burden on me and keep all the weight on my shoulders. And I'm trying to learn to, like, it's yours, Lord. Do it. You will be done.
Mm-hmm. I definitely lean more on him when I'm going through my hard times and pray a lot more. And I noticed that I want to get better at praying when I don't need to lean on him as well. But he's always there. He's the only one that's going to be there for us all the time. So the 99 is one that I actually love, because I'm the one that needed sought out and needed pulled back in. He came for me. I was important enough and I mattered enough to make sure that I got to the right spot.
We do matter. We do matter. And, even though we mess up, we do try to run away. We always come back, and he will always accept us.
To me, God always has a plan and a reason for everything. And I think we were meant to land here for a reason. And the way they bring the community in here, it's amazing. And I went to school, both schools, Ella High School and higher over here. So I think if I had known and had something like this, I would have probably had it as my home and my safety net in those times of need. So it's really great to know that kids around here have that option to come here, and this can be their place to feel safe, talk to God, and have that, because I think it's very important.
You know, this is home. This is our plot of land, and it's having the church right in the center. It's like Dad standing on the front porch, going, "All right, kids, come on, we get in here.
Yeah.
Quit messing around,"
Yeah.
and calls us home.
Isn't that awesome? Because I would love to hear, and I would love to know the stories that are just embedded, like David and Elizabeth's story here in this room. You know, and I would love to know what the Jimmy and Robin story of just being workers, being friends, taking the gospel to people they love because Jesus changed their life, and now they want to help their friends find the one that changed them. Simple, powerful. And that guys, that's what we want to be all about here, is we know that we've only been here in this space, like I said, about 2 years. It'll be 2 years at Christmas, not even 2 years in this building. And, we've got a little bit of space left, not a ton. And we know that we want to continue to be able to extend the invitation to the David and the Elizabeths of our lives and create space for them, right? This is where the passion, the mindset, and the heart of God gets really, really practical. Is you're like, we live in Northeast Ohio, so it's nice to have a place to gather where there's not snow, right? It's important. And as simple as it is, we can do some things on purpose to make some space. There's a group of people that made some decisions so that we could be at this campus and in this place today, right? From our Bath campus. That's how we landed here. And I remember when we didn't have a building. We were at a high school. This campus started at a high school. And I remember praying, like I said, for a place. And I remember looking at land. And we looked at plots of land down on 224 and not too far from here. And man, it was expensive. And I started asking questions like, hey, what would it take if we wanted to go build a building? I mean, it just sounds practical, right? Go build a building, put it on a piece of land. That's what churches do, right? And I got astronomical numbers of how much it would cost to go do that. Not that would have been a bad thing to do at all, but I thought, wow, that's an insane thing. We went through, of course, COVID, and we had no place to land. God worked in a powerful way. And long story short, we ended up here. And when the group here joined us and gifted us with this building, I remember asking some construction guys, I said, guys, if we were to recreate all this building out of a field, relay the parking lot and the foundation and this whole thing that we have here, roughly how much do you think that would cost? And here's what I got. These guys would say at least $15 million. And they would say, they almost all said the same thing. I'm like, do you guys go to the same school? They would all go, easy. $15 million, easy. Right? I don't even know, that's a lot of money. I don't even know how we would have done that, right? So I just want you to recognize the fact that because we have this space, because we have a place to land, because we didn't have to pay for this was gifted to us. You should just kind of recognize this. We have a $15 million head start. Because somebody else, God's people, from generations before, they raised the money and they did the work and they kept this thing afloat and it showed up in our leg of the race. Is it making sense? Huge. We don't have to do that part. And right, if you came since we've been at this building, there's a group of people that you're sitting next to, and some of those people gave money to renovate this space so that we could enjoy it. It could be brought up to speed a little bit, right? So here's where we are today, is we would look and say, I would look and say, I'm not interested at all in adding on a brand new auditorium or something in the front yard for $7 or $8 million. I'm like, we have a building. It's awesome. Well, what we need to do, though, is we need to utilize it. And there are parts of this building that we didn't open up yet because we didn't need it, and we're going to need it soon, right? Lord willing, because here's what you folks are doing, is you folks are bringing friends, and those friends are bringing friends, and it's the Dave and Elizabeths of the world, and that's what we want to do more and more. So here's some easy options that we have. What we want to do is we want to use some of the spaces that we're not using that are very simple to use. And here's one of them, maybe a surprise to you. We want to open our balcony. Everybody take a minute and turn around real quick. Some of you, you're looking at that balcony, you're like, what? I had no idea that thing was back there, right? We actually have there's a whole balcony up there, and we can seat 80, we think about 80 people up there. And times 2 services, guys, that's 160 seats for the Dave and Elizabeths of the world, right? Easy. Now, what it would take financially to build a balcony would be like this. What it would take to renovate and open that and kind of turn it on will take this, right? It's in existence. We don't have to build it. We don't have to do anything, but it doesn't have any chairs, and it doesn't have any air conditioning. It doesn't have any lights, and it doesn't have any carpet. Right, so we have to do, it needs some love, right? So we need to give it some love, turn the thing on, and make some space for some people to hear about the love of Jesus. Simple, right? Simple thing. This is where the heart and mind of Jesus shows up practically, right? It's a no-brainer. Here's another thing that we want to do. As we look at, and we say, we know that we are kind of reaching the one in some segments. There are some other segments, right, where we might be able to reach out and connect with the one in other areas. And maybe this group is a little bit, maybe these folks aren't necessarily always super open to coming to church. That wouldn't be their first instinct. By the way, that would have been my first instinct. I didn't go looking for a church. I had a friend come tell me about Jesus. God had to send somebody to me. And sometimes that's the case, is there's not always an openness. I wouldn't have gone to a church service as a first instinct. So sometimes what we have to do is we want to look and say, how do we jump into some creative ways that we can connect with our community, right? And you might not know this about our building, but underneath our feet here, there's an entire basement underneath us, okay? It's massive. It's huge. It's a little creepy. Okay, but it's massive, right? I remember when I walked through this building for the first time, and I was like, what are we going to do with this space? It is humongous. It's like way too big for storage, but it's too creepy to invite the public into, right? So I'm like, what are we going to do with it? How's this thing going to work? All right, it's like a creepy murder basement. I don't know. So you're like, so we got to do something with it, and it would take an enormous amount of money to make it like ready for the weekend. And so we prayed and we brainstormed, and we thought about it, and we said, what if we did this, okay? We said, what if we turn this space that is huge and kind of incredible and would cost an enormous amount of money to build? It's already there. What if we, instead of thinking of it as a weekend space, like another auditorium or a lobby, what if we changed the way we thought of it, and we thought of it as a fitness center? Okay, what if we thought of it as a fitness center? Almost like a CrossFit gym. Doesn't matter if it's CrossFit or not, but imagine that in your head. The expectations for that space and the usability of it goes through the roof. And so we said, let's try it. And so we got some stuff. We got some fitness equipment, and we cleaned it out. It was like, right, need a lot of love. And so we gutted it, put some fitness equipment down there, and some guys gathered up in the morning, and it was awesome. We did it like 10-minute, 15-minute devotional, worked out together, sweat together. Before you know it, people are sharing prayer requests and crying. It was a great, amazing. Right? I'm still getting texts. I was in the group. I didn't lead it. I just was part of it. I'm still getting texts. I'm like, can I turn this thing off? Right? It's like, you guys are super tight. I love it. But what we saw happen is we know this is the case. There are people that may not jump in right away to sit in a church service, but they would be super open to going to a fitness group. They would go to a morning men's workout or a women's workout or jump in with some college students and do that. And they would go do that way before they would jump in here. And it's just a matter of reaching people kind of where they are, meeting them where they are, and helping them move towards Christ from there. Right? We want to look at, could we do something like this fitness center idea? And one of the things that we saw is we saw this play out at one of our other campuses. Right? One of the pastors' wives of one of our other campuses owns a fitness center, a gym, right? Like a CrossFit gym. And what she did is she said, hey, I'm going to offer a free workout on Sunday morning. And if people come to that workout, they can come for free if you'll stay and you'll watch the sermon live streamed into the gym after. So come do the workout and then sit there sweaty, right? And have your cup of coffee and watch that live stream sermon. Well, they tried, this is all kind of before COVID, right? Maybe 8-10 years ago. And people started to come to know Jesus, and people started to get baptized, and the thing started to grow. And they ran into two problems with it, okay? Here's the two problems. One is they're like, we have no plan for kids, right? Because it's not a church. It's a CrossFit gym, right? So people were like, what do I do with my kids? Do they get church? Like, how does this, right? They had no plan for kids. And here's the other thing that they ran into is it was about 10 minutes from the campus, because this is a gym off-site, and they had a hard time connecting people back into the life of the church and helping them kind of belong to it. So we asked this question, what if you could kind of mentally, what if you could pick up that space and put it on our property? Right? If you thought, what if we could take that kind of that gym fitness center space and you could put it inside of our building? We'd have a plan for kids. We've got the whole Power Kids wing. Just opened up the basement, right? Kind of the under wing, by the way, right? And the HQ, that's going to be incredible if you haven't seen it, right? So that's all firing. And then people are going to be connected because they're already here, right? It's easy. So could we use this during the week to invite people to small fitness groups, right? And then one day, could we open that up? Maybe it's on Sunday morning, maybe it's another day of the week, where we literally live stream a service and could almost have a version of what these guys experienced here before, right? Could God use that to reach other people in creative ways, and we find our way to the one? Right? A different group of people, maybe that we haven't connected with at all. I started saying this in like rooms, like small rooms, of just kind of getting this out in front of people. And I started watching something happened, right? Kind of, we did this with a pilot group where I did our workout thing. And we got a couple that were so excited about it. They were like, we'll pay to get trained in fitness so we can do this all the time. We love it. And I was like, settle down, right? That's awesome. Super fired up. And then I started talking to people about this idea. And we got some fitness people so fired up that they were like gyrating in their seats, right? And I was like, wow, you like this idea. This is a good one. Okay, right? And I know not everybody, some of you are like, I hate fitness. I'm like, cool, we got other stuff for you to do, right? But some people love it, right? And can we use something as simple as fitness, where you maybe kind of got to do it anyway? Can we use a version of that venue to reach people and connect with people for Christ? Can we, instead of building something new, can we redeem what we already have? The cost to open this is this. The cost to build it would be this. No brainer in my mind. To invest a little bit and see that, I bet you that place will turn into one of the most used sections of our building because it can kind of be used 7 days a week, right? Can we open up new space? Can we open up new creative ways to connect with our community? And then here's the next one. We want to extend compassion and kindness of Christ to our community. Well, we know that in our community there are There are less mobile people who are less mobile. There are widows. There are elderly couples. There are single moms that need simple help, practical help with their homes. We're talking simple repairs to steps or to outdoor stuff, right? Raking leaves, you name it. We did some of this a year or so ago, and I remember this lady who's real close. She's right down the street here, right around the corner, and I remember her standing on her porch, watching 3 or 4 people that she'd never met before, giving their time away. And I watched it kind of register in her mind. These people have nothing to gain from me, right? We're not asking for an offering or come on, right? We are doing this out of the love for Jesus, and she starts weeping. She starts weeping because she's got nobody close to her to help her. There's no family to lean on. There's no help to grab, nobody to call. So is it possible that a God who sees her and knows her and loves her got his people to her? And she would have received it that way. This isn't just some nice people doing good. This is God himself loving me and showing himself to me. We talked about this briefly last year. This is a goal we want to double down on. We want to look at and ask the question, could we impact 100 homes right here in a 5-mile radius through what we call go and do, right? We go do simple, practical acts of service in people's homes, again, kind of that group, single moms, elderly, less mobile, widows, right? That kind of area. And the Bible's going to have a lot to say about this. Look what Paul says in Titus. He says, this is a trustworthy saying. And he says, I want you to stress these things so that those who have trusted in God may be careful to devote themselves to doing what is good. These things are excellent and profitable for everyone. He says, listen, those of you who have received the love of God, you're a follower of Jesus. Those of you who received the love of God, get about doing good. I'm not just to take the love and the good that God has done for me and hoard it or sit on it. I want to extend it. I want to take what has been given to me and give it to others. Not to earn anything, right? We're not earning God's favor. We're taking the favor that was gifted to us and we're extending it to the people around us. Simple. It says devote themselves to doing what is good. Here's another one from James 1. James says this, religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. James is going to say, he's going to use that word religion, don't get hung up on this. He's saying that the stuff to do that is good, that God looks at and gives a thumbs up to, is taking care of those who are in need. Widows, orphans. I think he would extend that to elderly, those who are going to have trouble meeting their needs on their own. God would look at that and say, that's the kind of act of service and good that I'm looking for. Give yourself to that, right? So can we be used by God in that way? When someone receives that kind of love and support, it changes them. It marks them. When I saw that widow weeping, what I recognized is I thought there's no way she doesn't walk away from that interaction and think, I have more hope. Maybe the world's not as dark as it appears on the news. Maybe God hasn't abandoned us. Maybe he's still at work, right? Maybe there's hope for the future and for my future. Maybe there's a God who loves me and hasn't given up on me. This is what we're looking at, right? He sees the crowds. Jesus would look at them and see them with compassion. Sheep without a shepherd, just like me. And rather than judging or condemning or discarding, he's going to move towards us. He's going to love us. And he would look at his people and say, I want to love this community, catch this, through you. God has chosen to love people, and this is beautiful, is he's chosen to do that through you and me, which is a joy and a privilege. One of the things that we saw here in Matthew 9 that we just looked at, that passage, Jesus would say, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Okay? And then he says to do something that at first glance just does not make that much sense. What he says to do is he says, hey, there's all these needs. There's all this harvest to take in. The thing to do, what I want you to do is I want you to ask. I want you to ask the Lord of the harvest to send out workers. I want you to pray. I want you to pray. Guys, this 1,000 hours of prayer thing, here's the thing. What I'm asking you to do is I'm asking you to go big on this 1,000 hours of prayer thing. Would you go big, and would you ask the Lord of the harvest to send workers out into his harvest field? And a couple things here. Guys, listen, I know we're all busy, and I know we all have problems of our own. And somehow, I've got to get past me a little bit, and I've got to see that there are people out here in this community where God has chosen to plant us, and I don't always know why he does what he does, but he's put us here. And they are trapped without hope. There's no one helping them. They're lost in addiction. They're living out what they know. They're not running towards truth. They're harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. And here's the reality. God will look and say, and what you should do is you should go to God and you should ask him to raise up workers to be sent out. Workers like Jimmy and Robin. No, not superheroes. We're not talking about we're talking about normal people, workers. People that will look and say, man, I don't know everything, but I know that Jesus changed my life. And I see you and I know you, and people that will hear a story and show up in somebody's world. Will you look and say, I'm going to jump into this 1,000 hours thing? A bunch of you have already done this. A bunch of you are doing it. We got a lot of reports of people 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, right? Can we as a church look and say, we together, I want to look back and be able to say, we sought the Lord together. That's what he told us to do. And listen, some of you're going to say, Ryan, I don't feel comfortable, man. I don't feel comfortable praying. I don't know how to pray. I don't know what to do. It scares me. Some of you are brand new followers of Jesus. You've never prayed out loud. You think about maybe going to a prayer event, like, right, we have some options here. And you would look and say, I'm intimidated by that. Listen. You can use the next 2 weeks. You could use the next 2 weeks and rip the Band-Aid. And what if you did that? What if you said, you know what, I'm gonna go outside of my comfort zone. I'm gonna stretch myself in the next 2 weeks, and I'm gonna learn how to pray out loud. And I'm gonna learn how to pray in a group of people. Freaks me out, I'm scared of it. What if you learn how to do that? And what if for the rest of your life you knew how to do that because you learned it in these 2 weeks? Rather than being stuck or hiding behind, I don't know, you said, you know what, I'm scared of it, and I would look at you and say, good, move towards it. I'm uncomfortable, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't care. What does that have to do with anything? Move towards the discomfort. Stretch. Ryan, I'm kind of busy. Push it. I will meet you at these times we just looked at. right? I'll meet you there. I'll be there at 6 tomorrow. I hope there's not enough room in the space that we have was set aside. I hope we have to change rooms. 6 to 7, right? We'll pray together. I'll meet you in the morning. I don't care if you're praying in couples or in small groups, or ask the Lord of the harvest. Why? Here's why I have to do it. I need to ask the Lord to break my heart and give me a level of agony for the brokenness of this community. Because it's so easy to be consumed in my own little problems. And there are problems, there are people out here that are lost. There are different kinds of problems. They're disconnected from the hope of God. They're lost in their own addiction. They're lost in God, would you break my heart for what breaks yours? Would you cause me to have an agony for the things that cause you agony? For those of you who have parents, those of you who are parents, you should all have parents, right? For those of you who are parents, when one of your kids is struggling, what does it do to you? It wrecks you. It wrecks you. When I adopt the heart of God, I get wrecked for his kids. You see it? The way you feel about your kids when they're struggling, when they feel lost, when you feel like you're losing a grip on them. That's how God the Father feels about the person who is off, spun out into no man's land, wrecking themselves and others. His heart breaks. And I need to seek the Lord of the harvest because I need that heart put back in me. And you know what's fascinating in Matthew 9, Jesus says this to his disciples. He says, go, ask the Lord of the harvest to raise up workers, send them out in the harvest field. 5 verses later, Jesus is sending his disciples out in the harvest field. They became the answer to their own prayer. Here's what I'm asking you. Would you be willing to be the answer to your own prayer? Would you be willing to be a worker? Would you seek the Lord of the harvest? And would you look and say, God, you can use my life. Would you send me? Would you send me to Stark North? Would you send me to Akron East? God, you can use me here, or your own little pocket of people that God can use your gifts in and through. Might have nothing to do with anything that we're doing in an organized way. But in your world, you're a worker for the kingdom. Here's what we're looking at. Let us know on this slide, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, pray, seek. We want to go after it together. There's already been more than 100 hours prayed. This week, we've got a worship night. We'll pray and worship together. Would you come to that? Pack this room. Would you look at these interest meetings if you're thinking about Stark North? Would you take the time and the energy, the attention to say, in these few weeks, God, you can have my attention. I'm going to pray like I've never prayed before. And then next weekend, I'm going to tell you how, okay? Some of you are like, Ryan, I just want to do stuff. I get it. Some of you are doers and you're freaking out, okay? We're going to tell you what to do next week. This week, would you pray? This week, would you pray? And would you pray, here's the takeaway, would you pray like you've never prayed before? That you walk away next week and you come back and like, I didn't even know that was possible. My heart is different because I went big after seeking the Lord of the harvest. Would you bow your heads, close your eyes with me? The band will lead us here together. God, you are a God who looks past and through our brokenness and our shame and our sin, Lord. You paid for it. And you were willing to choose to see our souls with compassion. And Jesus, you were willing to come and make the only way that would ever be possible for us to be made right with you, to make our way back to the Father. You paid with your own body and your own blood for my sin, for our sin, to reach the one. God, I pray that you yourself would change us this week. This week, Lord. As we seek after, your word says that if we draw near to you, you will draw near to us. God, would you make that true in our experience and our time with you? Give us courage to move past what's uncomfortable, past what's natural, and to seek you, Lord, with abandon. Would you speak to us in those moments? Would you change us? And would you work in ways that are beyond anything that we could think, ask, or imagine? Would you start that even now? Meet us here, Lord, as we worship you.